Do you think we need to be stepping up support for Ukraine? And if we do we need to start putting a date on when we're going to start spending 2.5% of GDP on defence?
Look, I'm very, very glad that the government is extending its support so that there's not only is there an annual package, but we've also now signed that industrial pact in terms of production of the weaponry for Ukraine. We've also now seen support from many of our other NATO allies, including Sweden, which has said that in terms of ramping up the domestic production. So there is a lot of support there. In terms of the 2.5%, I am on record, I've said that on the floor of the House, that in an increasingly dangerous and volatile world, we need to make sure that there is a clear timeline, a clear timetable for how we are going to reach that 2.5% figure. I know that many parliamentarians across the House would share that opinion. The government has intimated that they will be reaching that 2.5% after the Strategic Defence Review has been conducted. It was good that the Defence Committee today, by the way, had Lord Robertson and General Sir Richard Barrons giving public evidence. So that is, I think, a similar theme that has been running through this whole debate, and that came through today as well. But we need to make sure that there is clarity, not just for our NATO allies, but also for the domestic defence community.
I'm just interested because we're talking about NATO allies there, and it feels like for the first time the debate is shifting slightly on Ukraine to how the war may at some point be brought to a close and the kind of ugly compromise that is needed. President Zelensky has been very clear that he wants a security guarantee. Yeah. Ideally, he wants membership of NATO. Do you think that's something that's seriously on the table?
Well, Sophie, first of all, I want to commend Sky News on that excellent piece of journalism, exclusive in the sense that we saw, if we look at what had just happened last year, President Zelensky said, no way am I coming to the negotiating table with President Putin. He has made an illegal invasion on our territory. But now, I think that's an opening salvo from President Zelensky, wherein he has said that, in essence, two parts to it. Firstly, to, in essence, freeze the conflict as we see it at the moment. So temporarily ceding territory in terms of Donbass and Crimea for it to be negotiated at a future date. But also how he has intimated that he would like that permanent NATO membership.
Can I be honest on that demand on NATO? Because, NATO is a nuclear alliance, right? And Russia is a nuclear power.
Yeah.
And the kind of founding principle of NATO is that if one member of NATO is attacked, then all of NATO is attacked.
Yes.
So are we seriously saying that if NATO membership for Ukraine is on the table, that we would be prepared to go to war with Russia? Because I just don't believe. I don't believe that is true.
Sophie, you are alluding to Article 5, and I think in terms of Ukraine's membership, already what the NATO allies have agreed, in terms of as a public statement, is that Ukraine is on an irreversible path to NATO membership. However, the allies are not agreed on giving Ukraine that membership at the present time, because there is a conflict, there's an ongoing conflict there. And I think in terms of the incoming Trump administration, with President-elect Trump, he has chosen General Keith Kellogg as his special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. And I think it's very telling that his paper back in April was the fact that he did not want an immediate membership for Ukraine of NATO. In fact, he said that that should be halted indefinitely until the situation is resolved. And he instead wanted that there is a bilateral strategic security structure in place. So I think that's, we can see where the US is going. And I think in terms of the wider NATO allies, we will also have issues with many of our allies on the eastern flank, because while that conflict is raging, even if it is temporarily halted, I personally can't see that situation whereby that NATO membership is given. But then at the same time, it should be noted that President Putin himself has been expressing platitudes and praise onto President-elect Trump. So that's obviously the sign of somebody who wants peace rather than to continue with war.
It's interesting. Thank you very much for being on the programme. I'm sure there will be lots of other occasions for us to talk about these issues in the months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.